There's a lot of stuff in video games. Literal stuff. Weapons, ammunition, treasures, sweet rolls. Anything that isn't bolted down is yours for the taking. Most of the time, there's no consequence for barging right into someone's house, shifting through their stuff, and taking what you like. But what happens with all that stuff that players collect? Inventory systems have been organizing the things in our characters' pockets, backpacks, or whatever the hell Link uses for years, but rarely ever get mentioned. Look on the back of any game box and you'll be hard-pressed to find inventory systems being advertised as an exciting new feature. You're probably saying to yourself, of course they're not exciting, they're menus. When have menus ever been exciting? But just because they're not exciting doesn't mean they're unimportant. A bad inventory system can turn a decent game into a logistical nightmare. On the other hand, a good one usually goes by relatively unnoticed. Whether they're good or bad, inventory systems themselves can be game changers, effectively changing the way a series, genre, or the entire industry approaches item management. So let's take a look at a few inventory systems that we here at Game Changers think had a big impact on gaming. When Pokemon was released in 1998, it became a huge cultural phenomenon. Not only was it a massively popular Game Boy game, but it was also a highly successful TV show and spawned movies, a trading card game, and countless pieces of merchandise. The success continued in 2000 with the release of the sequels Pokemon Gold version and Silver version. In addition to improved graphics, new battle tactics, and 100 new Pokemon to collect, Gold and Silver introduced an overhauled inventory system that set the standard for subsequent games. Prior to Gold and Silver, Pokemon used an inventory system that was common to many early RPGs. Players were limited to carrying about 20 items before they couldn't carry any more. In order to make room for new items, players would either have to use the items that they were saving, throw away old or unused items, sell items at a Pokemart, or deposit unused items at the PC in the Pokemon Center. Items were also listed in the order in which they were obtained, which meant that items collected early on in the game stayed at the top of the list. If you watched just 1 minute of Twitch Plays Pokemon, then you understand how frustrating this could be.
Must consult the Helix Fossil. Must consult the Helix Fossil.
Must consult the
Lord
Helix
Helix
Fossil.
above.
Pokemon Gold and Silver fixed all of that with the introduction of the backpack. Similar to backpacks in real life, the one in Gold and Silver had several different pouches and compartments that organized items much more efficiently. The items pouch held items that were used in battle, like potions and antidotes. The key items pouch held important quest items like your bike, train tickets, and key cards. Pokeballs were stored in the balls pouch, and finally there was the TM and HM pouch, which held the technical machines and hidden machines that taught new moves to Pokemon. This simple fix eliminated the disorganized mess that was in red and blue. If you needed an item, you knew exactly where it was. That's why Pokemon Gold and Silver secures itself a spot on our list of game-changing inventory systems. Resident Evil is one of gaming's iconic series and is credited with starting the golden age of survival horror games in the late 90s. In 2005, Capcom reinvented survival horror with the release of Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was a massive departure from the style and form of the previous Resident Evil games and shattered many of the conventions that it helped establish. Static camera angles, puzzles, and combat avoidance was replaced with a much more combat-oriented and quick-action style of play. One of the many changes that occurred was the complete overhaul of the item system. Earlier games limited players to carrying a few items at a time, which forced them to evaluate and choose items based on their potential usefulness. In Resident Evil 4, items were stored and organized in an attaché case with a grid system. Every item, except for story-related items like keys and treasures, took up a specific number of spaces on the grid. This encouraged players to consider which was more important to them, carrying several different weapons for different combat situations, or carrying fewer weapons with more attachments and ammo. Should empty space be used for carrying ammo and grenades, or for carrying healing herbs and first aid sprays? Space became a precious commodity and encouraged players to organize their items efficiently. There were opportunities to purchase larger cases that increase your carrying capacity.
Is that all, stranger?
But even with the added space, it still forced players to make decisions about their items. Resident Evil 4 was by no means the first game to use a grid-based storage system, but it was the first time such a system was used in a Resident Evil game. Therefore, it earns itself a spot on our list of game-changing inventory systems. Of all the game genres to include on a list of revolutionary inventory systems, first-person shooters may seem like an odd choice. But despite their action-centric and menu-adverse gameplay, first-person shooters have faced their own unique set of inventory challenges. Early FPSs often allowed the player to carry one of each kind of weapon they collected. On home computers, where these games got their start, these weapons were usually assigned to the number keys for quick and easy access. But since home consoles didn't have keyboards, game developers had to find ways of providing the same features, but with fewer buttons. The most common solution was to have players rotate through a list of weapons, typically using the controller's D-pad. In 2001, Halo Combat Evolved was released for the Xbox, and it became a massive hit. Halo proved that console FPSs could compete with their PC brothers. One of the ways in which Halo set itself apart from other console shooters was the use of a two-weapon system. The two-weapon system limited the player to carrying only 2 weapons at a time. This encouraged players to think carefully about which weapons to carry and adjust their strategy accordingly. Sure, you could carry a rocket launcher and a sniper rifle with you, but ammunition for those weapons was scarce, and it could be a problem if you got in close combat against a squad of elites. Gaining control of powerful weapons like the sniper rifle, rockets, or the shotgun was vital to a team's success. If each team member carried one power weapon, then the enemy would have access to only one of them should that teammate die. However, if a team member carried 2 power weapons, then the risk of both of those weapons falling into the hands of the enemy increases. The two-weapon system encouraged communication and cooperation towards victory. Halo's success helped popularize the two-weapon system, which has been adopted and adapted by other franchises like Call of Duty and Titanfall. Halo wasn't the first game to use this system, but its immense popularity and impact on console first-person shooters earns it a spot on our list. There's one more inventory system that we'd like to address, but we had difficulty tracking down the first game to use it. We also couldn't think of any one game that did it better than the others. That is why we decided to give an honorable mention to the Radial item wheel. The Radial item wheel, also known in some games as a Radial Quick Select, was a creative solution to the limitations of modern console controllers. Radial item wheels allowed players to quickly choose from several available weapons or items in their inventory without the need to pause the game. Although there are many games that feature radial item wheels, Ratchet & Clank, BioShock Infinite, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and Grand Theft Auto 5 are some great examples of the item wheel in practice. Inventory systems have come a long way from their clunky, limited, and somewhat disorganized origins. Pokemon Gold and Silver, Resident Evil 4, and Halo Combat Evolved made significant contributions to gaming, but their inventory systems may have been some of the most important contributions that never get recognized. But what do you think? What are some inventory systems that you think are game changers? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching Game Changers. Subscribing and liking this video lets us know that we did a good job. Want to see more? Click on this annotation to be taken to the Game Changers playlist. If you're more interested in watching reviews, go ahead and click on this annotation to be taken to the Psychotria Reviews playlist. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time.